I found out I have a daughter who thinks I was her mother's rapist. It wasn't rape. I am not the original poster. Original post in R, relationship advice. Reminder: do not comment on linked posts. Trigger warnings. Discussions of rape allegations. Less than. Mood spoilers. Emotional distress. Shock. Doubt. Regret. Empathy. Reconciliation. Less than. An NBSP. ###. I found out I have a daughter who thinks I was her mother's rapist. It wasn't rape. What next? Sun. October 27, 2019. Submitted by You Perplexed Dad. Recovered deleted post. I received an email last week from a woman claiming we are a DNA match and she is my biological daughter. It was a long and emotionally charged letter. She said she knew she was child of rape, and while she had no desire to form a relationship with me, she wanted me to know that she existed and to understand the pain and anguish I had caused her and her mother and grandparents. The letter was gut-wrenching. I was shocked but also skeptical. I have been married 25 years and I have 3 great kids. I have never raped or abused a woman ever. I thought this had to be a prank or scam. I had done home DNA ancestry testing 2 years ago, and it had not shown a child I wasn't aware of. But when I logged into my account, there she was. I did some sleuthing and figured out that her mother was a woman. Terry. Fake name. I had dated for about a month during our first semester of college in the mid-1980s. We broke it off mutually and remained friendly. The very last night of the second semester, we hooked up at a dorm party and went to my room and had sex. It was a casual hookup and I remember it as 100% consensual and very passionate. Also unprotected. Afterwards we went back to the party and had a great time dancing and mingling with friends. We both went home the next morning for summer break. Terry didn't come back to college the next year, which I gave very little thought to since we weren't close and hadn't bothered to communicate all summer. One of the reasons Terry and I were incompatible was religion. She was Catholic and I'm Jewish. I was not religious, but she had grown up in a strict household. My supposition is that when she discovered the pregnancy, she told her family she had been raped rather than admitting to premarital sex with a Jewish ex-boyfriend. But who knows? Maybe she had other reasons. It kills me that I have a daughter in her 30s who has been fed lies about her father. I can't imagine growing up thinking I was a product of rape. That has to be so hard psychologically. I am in pain for a child I didn't even know existed just a few days ago. And who hates me? I have been debating what to do. I have not written back to my daughter. I badly want to tell her the truth, in a way that she can believe. But how? My wife, who has been a rock the last few days, keeps telling me to give this some time and thought. My best friend says I should hire a lawyer. I don't know what to do and it's eating me up. Advice. Please. An NBSP. #UPDATE. I found out I have a daughter who thinks I was her mother's rapist. It wasn't rape. What next? Submitted by You _RA Perplexed 19. Wed. November 6, 2019. I hired a lawyer. He recommended that I respond to my daughter's email to unequivocally deny the rape allegation. I wrote her a short message and described how and when Terry and I met. I was careful not to attack Terry and to offer sympathy. I explained that our sex was consensual. A week went by with no response. 2 days ago my daughter wrote me and said Terry now claims she was raped a month after she and I had sex, and that she was told by her doctors that the baby was born premature 8 months later. She's basically saying she was misled by her doctors. I find that very hard to believe. But if it's true it is awful, and if it's not I guess it gives Terry a way out without exposing her big lie, which is maybe best for everyone. Yesterday I spoke to my daughter for the first time. She was crying and so was I. Said it wasn't easy to say much. Before we hung up, I told her that I loved her because she's my flesh and blood. And I hoped we could get to know each other and meet my grandchild. She sobbed so much after that, and said she's been waiting her whole life to hear those words. My wife and I told our kids about a week ago. They are teenagers and took it really well. All three are interested in meeting their new sister and niece. My wife, my beautiful, caring, bestest friend ever. She's been nothing but supportive. She has offered that we invite my daughter and granddaughter to visit over the Christmas holidays, even suggesting we pay the airfare and offer them our guest room. My daughter is going to call me again tonight and I'm going to propose she come. Or offer to fly to her if she's more comfortable. We have a lifetime of catching up to do. Meantime, as for Terry, I feel like my daughter and I were robbed. But I really don't want to dwell on it. She hasn't reached out to me and I don't plan to either. Though I'm prepared to be cordial if she does. And to listen to her story and be open-minded. #EDIT. I'm overwhelmed by all the love coming at me from Reddit. Thank you all for your support, compliments and helpful opinions. Really, I promise I will post an update. Silver and gold. Feels like I'm Burl Ives. Thanks, kind strangers. An NBSP. Reminder I am not the original poster. That's crazy. If mom didn't change her story, the daughter would never really believe OOP's side. At least mom did the right thing by ending the lie instead of perpetuating it and destroying the father and daughter relationship even further that it already has been. I'm not going to make a claim on whether Terry was telling the truth or lying. But I will say 3040 years ago, it wasn't wildly uncommon for due dates to be a bit off or even for people not to understand age of a pregnancy versus date of conception, and them being quite different. There are also studies that show 1 in 4 women will be sexually assaulted while in college. There is absolutely a world where Terry could have said, "Well, I always thought it was." Rapist. Who was your father because of the timeline, but if you're telling me it's oop, then obviously something was wrong, and meant it. She would clearly realize that if a DNA test says Oop was the father and he wasn't the person who raped her, that obviously whatever conclusions she made, which people naturally do for all sorts of reasons, were wrong. Maybe not this world we live in, but certainly a world. So, please be kind to Terry. Just in case. It's possible that the mother was raped by someone else and thought she was pregnant by the rapist. I do not understand why people are assuming that Terry is still lying about the rape. The way I see the timeline is like this. 1 Op and Terry hook up and Terry becomes pregnant. 2 Terry is raped. 3 Terry discovers the pregnancy in the aftermath of the assault and comes to believe that the child is the product of the assault, without having any reliable way of knowing what encounter led to her pregnancy. 4 Terry tells her daughter at some point that she is the product of sexual assault. 5 Daughter gets a DNA test, and believing that she is the product of sexual assault, that her biological father is also her mother's rapist. 6 Op states that he's never raped anyone. 7 Terry corroborates OP's story that he is not a rapist, while staying true to the fact that she was assaulted. It is really disappointing me that members of this sub seem to believe that someone would fully fabricate a sexual assault when there is no evidence supporting that at all. I wonder if the daughter buys it. The new story. Doubt it. Told your whole life you're the product of rape and the moment it's refuted. Oh well, I was raped afterwards and the doctors confused me. I feel at this point, the daughter definitely doesn't believe her mother's new story, but would rather form a relationship with her father than confront her mother's obvious lie. I feel for her, but I'm happy she's getting the opportunity to bond with her new family. It sounds to me like Terry didn't say this man raped her, but that a different man raped her, and she thought that man was the father? Or is my reading comprehension fried? I know people are jumping on the idea Terry is lying, but if she was RPED, that's a really traumatic experience and her mind was probably a mess. There is a chance that she thought her daughter was from her RPIST, and never even remembered about OP and didn't want to think about it until her daughter made the DNA test. I mean, if she had nothing to do with her abuser after the incident, then she didn't made any tests to be sure he was the real father. I still feel sorry for Terry. She may have been covering or may have actually been abused and her memories associated it with a different person due to any number of bad situations she may or not had control over. I hope the daughter is able to get therapy, as well as Terry, and even Oop and his wife and kids. It's okay to feel a lot of things good and bad in this situation. Just need to focus on the good and let go of the bad. So here's how I can imagine this story in a way that doesn't make Terry out to be evil. Consider, at no point do we hear that the daughter grew up knowing who had raped her mother. If she gets raped, then a month after realizes she's pregnant, is she gonna think, ooh, maybe I was already preggers from hooking up with my ex 2 months back, or is she gonna assume the more traumatic event was responsible? So the kid grows up, knowing, she's a rape baby. At 30 she gets a DNA test. I don't actually know how this works. How did she test his DNA to know they're a match? Or was she BSing to see what he'd say? Point is, we don't know of her knowing anything about him until this attempt to reach out. Did Terry say that OP was the rapist? Even if she did, assuming it's what she said after hearing her daughter's DNA results, even that could be forgiven and make sense if we consider both the 30 years and the traumatic event, and the unreliability of human memory. Of course, we must also consider the religious factor. The rape may never have occurred and it may have simply been a face-saving gesture within her church community to explain the lack of a father. Wow, glad it worked out overall. We built our family through adoption, and one of the many items you have to decide on in terms of what situations you're willing to consider is, would you be willing to adopt a child conceived through rape? The reason is that it's healthy to tell your child of their origins and hopefully have some contact with bio mom. So you have to tell a kid that, which sucks. I can't imagine growing up thinking that and finding out it's false. There was a whole TLC series about women who didn't know they were pregnant when going into labor. And a month's worth of conception date confusion 30 years ago is somehow massively unbelievable? I don't get it. I need a more current update. Why are people clutching at straws to find a way to support Terry? It's awesome when someone that has felt unloved realizes that they are very much loved. W new wife NGL. I can't imagine the psychological trauma that girl has. She was raised her whole life to think she was a product of rape. How has that affected her self-image? How was she treated by her mother and her mother's family? Now she's an adult with a child of her own and suddenly her mom is like, oopsie. I hope she gets therapy ASAP and is able to build a relationship with her dad. OP sounds so emotionally mature. It was lovely to hear a man so open and loving about everyone in his life, and to have communicated with your wife about this truly shows your strength as partners. The way you selflessly thought about how she would feel about the way she was brought here rather than with your ego worrying about what someone thought about you is commendable. Sparkling heart. This did not leave me feeling happy. What a heartbreaking situation. Hook up in the 80s and the women was Catholic. Terry may have been raped regardless. Benefit of the doubt. But it could be a story to explain the pregnancy and the doctor had her back cause Terry's parents were the actual monsters. Who wants to be excommunicated from their family and community cause they had a one-night fling between consenting adults? The worst thing Terry did is not tell the daughter sooner. But maybe it's possible Terry didn't think said daughter would find and reach out to Oop. This could have been so much worse.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.